Hi, my name is Charles Sumi. Welcome to the BTC show. This is a world after COVID. This is a world where several things are happening in the workplace. This is the world where we have Gen Zs demanding for so much in the workplace, and we have employers and employees finding it hard to find a balance between a hybrid workplace and a remote workplace. So how did we choose to solve this? We got thought leaders come together and have an amazing session on how and the best way to handle the changes in work. So if you are the next generation, an employer, an employee, Gen Z, millennial, baby boomer, and you want to learn more about the changes in the workplace, the BTC show for this season is all for you. Welcome to the BTC show. The world of work has changed completely thanks to COVID. So after the COVID era, people were now forced to work from home, and most workplaces changed and the dynamics changed. So for this series, we're getting founders, we're getting HR experts, we're getting everyone as a key stakeholder in the workplace share their own experience on how to do it. So today we have amazing guests. So I'll let my guest introduce himself. Hello guest, who are you?
Guest name is Babatunde Akimoses. Most of my friends call me Tunde.
Uncle Tunde.
Uncle Tunde, Uncle Tunde by some, and Tunde by others, Babs by others. Plenty nicknames. So I'm currently CEO, co-founder of Sycamore. Sycamore is a peer-to-peer lending platform that connects lenders to borrowers. And our aim is really to empower African businesses and individuals financially. And that's what we've been doing for the past few years.
So perfect. I follow your Uncle Tunde series.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And it looks like that's like your own voice to the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of those issues can be a bit controversial, but I find that putting it in form of somebody teaching a younger person, it just makes it more relatable, and it takes the tension out of it. So when arguments even come, people just direct them at Uncle Tunde and Junior and not Babatunde Akimoses. So like you said, it's also a way of passing on.
Okay, so today, one interesting thing about you is this. Doing my interesting research, we found out that you've worked with the Big Four, and the Big Four in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
So, and very few people that have experienced that kind of comfort want to leave. So for you to have worked with PwC, KPMG, and gained experienced the good life and decide to go this route. What was that experience for you, and how has it helped you on your journey?
Oh, okay. I always say it's a privilege to have worked with, two of the Big Fours, and that experience totally changed my life for the better, I think, or I believe rather, because the work ethic, the standards, quite rigorous, and just the discipline that we learned, right? I think you really can't pay any amount of money for that. But I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? And so I always had that calling to want to try something eventually. And the good thing about it is, even as I made that transition, everything I learned from KPMG and PwC, a lot of things that have helped me today. And even the network, right? The family, the Big Four family, a lot of my ex-bosses are my mentors, a lot of my colleagues, my customers. So it's like, I didn't feel like I even started the business alone. I felt like, perfect. I had this whole people, this whole village behind me, the Big Four village, quote and unquote. And it's a pretty good village to be behind you, even if obviously there were concerns and fears by everybody, my parents, my friends.
Because how did you convince them? Because you must have had stakeholder meetings.
There were plenty stakeholder meetings. At some point, even my dad, had to tell one of my mentors to talk to me. What am I doing? My life is pretty much set. I'm just going to turn into a partner and be rich. Why am I stressing myself to go into business? I'm so young. I think I was 29 at the time. And it's like, why? But I guess the deal we made then was, just give me like 2 years and say, okay, let's even see how it goes. highest, the good thing about Big Four too is if you do your job well, there's a very good probability that you can actually, go back.
Okay.
There's some of the few companies, they're not vindictive at all, right? If you left on a good note, they're always happy to take you back. And besides, the other Big Four companies, or rather Big Four firms, and other companies that would even, be very happy to take you from Big Fours. Even as I am now, I still get job offers. I get job offers every other day, every other week. So I guess that's also another advantage too. The fact that I already had some years of experience, it means that I probably won't be going back to ground zero, even if I decided not to do business again. I can always get work just based on that experience and obviously my network. So, yeah.
So would you say you starting up Sycamore was like, it should have been harder for you if you didn't have this?
Much, 100%. In fact, I sound like a broken record already, but I always tell people that if you can, if possible, please work a little bit, no matter how short, even if it's 2 or 3 years before you go into business, because the way it is, it's like, okay, so let me give you an analogy. If a student starts business, what are they doing? They are going to be buying and selling, and initially they're just thinking about the cash in, cash out of the business. If you work in a company, you start to see, there's HR, there's admin. How do we send invoices? How do we do company retreats? How does my boss give feedback when he's angry? How do they handle appraisals? And who is your network? What are the people you're even going to sell to? I was making an example recently for some students. I say, if you start a business now, the only people you know are your students and maybe your parents, right? When I started business after like 7-8 years in consulting, I already had a good network of people that already had disposable income that were ready to patronize me. If you're a student in that business today, your guys don't even have money, right? I mean, that's just one example. Not to even talk of, the network or what you even learn on the job. I think it's been much more difficult. In fact, some people have even advised that people should even go into business in their 40s. Because if you work for 20 years, let's assume you finish 2025, you work for like 20 years. If you're a director or a very senior management staff, you start business at that level, your circle is different. You can call your guys and say, guys, give me 20 million, I want to start a business. If you are starting out of school, your guys can't give you 20 million. Your guys give you 20K and you raise 100,000 and start your business, right? But if you start a business at 45, your guys can give you 20 M. Hopefully, if you've done the right thing and your guys are in the right places. So, I mean, there's also the argument.
So no, I love your perspective.
Yeah.
So no, and it's important because there's no formula. There's no formula.
Yeah.
But the good thing about it is that when you work with people, the good thing there is that they become your backbones.
Yeah,
and I think that's what I'm even concerned about.
And
even when we throw around the be your own boss, work on your own, it's a beautiful line, but the edge is that this gives you a more that network you're looking for.
Absolutely.
And I think I wanted us to hear it. And interestingly, I was telling my guys behind the show that you're one of the first class that finally go into business. Most of you are one-sided people.
Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this first class arguments. I feel like I have to apologize to people for making a first class sometimes because it's funny. I was in a room like 3 or 4 weeks ago and it was an entrepreneur class.
Yeah.
And somebody there was saying he can never hire first class people. Obviously, he didn't know anything about me. I was just watching. I said, why now? He said, no, they are not good. They only know theory. They should be teaching. They can't do business. And I was looking at this guy. He said, no, I can never hire them. They only know book. They only do this one. And many people were echoing, yes, they are not social. They can't speak. This one, I'm like, let me see Wala.
And you've not told them?
No. In fact, I didn't even tell them anything because I think since I graduated, it's it's one of the, like, it's supposed to be a good thing, but it's been now, they now try to it's now victimize us every time, because it's like, these ones, they don't know anything. Social, this one, they can't talk. And the only theory, they should go and teach. And I'm like, why? It's not, anyways, I don't know why. I think a lot of times, which creates a lot of arguments on social media, people like this mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
People like to think in terms of mutually exclusive, like, oh, you can't be a first class and be a business person. You can't be a good person and be very intelligent. You can't be book smart and be street smart. People are always trying to make you choose one. Like, no, you can't be a sharp guy and be social. You can't be fashionable and be very intelligent. And I'm like, why are you guys picking?
It used to be like that, Tunde. It used to.
No. I don't think. I think you have the how do you say? You have the liberty to choose how you want to be. You just have to put in the work. I don't think we should be picking good attributes and be saying you should choose one. I really don't like it. So somebody will say, oh, if there's a disciplined person and there's an intelligent person, who will you work with? I'm like, why can't you be intelligent and be disciplined? Why do you have to take two good things and then choose one, right? Yeah, sometimes, definitely, in some instances, trade-offs have to be made if there is a limited resource. But in some instances, there are two good attributes. I personally think I'm book smart and street smart, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
No, you don't
and
need to.
I think everybody should try to work hard. I don't think people should limit themselves to thinking that, oh, no, me, blah blah blah. There's self-awareness, no doubt, but there's preferences. But I don't think you should be the one limiting yourself from a good thing because you feel that you have to choose from two good attributes, even if they are not mutually exclusive. So yeah, that's my thinking.
So one conversation I liked about this, like I said, was that it helps us demystify this, that this is not completely how it is. Maybe let me assume I was in school and I listened, I was like, this guy is also first class and he's running, he's been able to work with the big four, he's running his own company, so I shouldn't be one-sided. It will shock you that most of the times, if we count the number of those we know. So, quick question, how was it for you in school? What kind of person were you in school? Maybe that helps.
Okay. So I've had a similar mindset, right? I think in fairness, I was one of the more, maybe not outgoing, but versatile, smart people. I was always interested in a lot of things. I was making a joke that people don't know but I used to be like drama group, choir back in secondary school, and I used to do a lot of debates, and so I used to have to talk, which I think was just my way of like, okay, I never wanted to limit myself because I feel like people always try to put you in a box when they feel, oh, you're good at your books, so please stick to the books. When we are talking music, we're talking movies, just shut up, you go and read your book. I never felt I needed to put into that box, even if I would admit that a lot of the other people that saw themselves as really smart, maybe we're not the most social people. In fact, they struggled with job interviews after, which is why I understand the stereotype of, because this person is smart, they can't talk, they can't toast babe, they can't do this one, stuff like that. And I'm like, I never wanted to put into those boxes. So I was always like a bit more, should I say, rounded, because I believe that in balance and not having to choose. If I needed to go out for a party, I could go, right, and come back and read. Just come back on time and read, and don't do anything in excess. So even from school, I mean, one of the jokes or one of the things I used to put out for people to laugh is the fact that I used to be into hip-hop music and I used to rap and I'll play some of my tracks. Don't worry, I'm not playing any today.
Don't worry, you can still play them.
Anyway, so so I think I've always sort of just been that more like, let me try a lot of things, and I always believed I could be good at multiple things, and for the most part, I tried my best. Failed at some, did well at some, but I always felt it was all good. But yeah, in fairness, that's how I've always, sort of been in school.
So one of the reasons why we had you here was that as a founder, it's obvious that your team, you're like the mouthpiece of the generation. We've had several conversations on how an interesting generation, they're called the Gen Zs, are interesting both to business owners and how the world of work changed after COVID. How was it like for you managing people that you were once begging come to work and they have to work from home? And what was the feedback? What was the formula that has worked that you think that this might be a good route for both founders, employees, and employers should be able to go?
Yeah. I think it's funny because the formula is still ongoing. We're still cooking the formula. Formula is not ready yet, but it's work in progress. And this is a conversation we have like every other day. I think for a lot of so first, if you look at a very big shift happened pre and post COVID, or let's say pre, during, and post COVID. Pre-COVID, you had a lot of, you were sending out job vacancies and people were applying, and there was this long queue of people coming to queue and they all wanted to work, and you were like giving terms, come to the office by 7 p.m., close by 5, you don't do this, you don't do that. And there was a lot of rigidity, right? COVID was a period of a lot of uncertainty. But one thing that it taught us, two major things. One, the fact that remote work was actually possible because you didn't have a choice. It's not even like you could even choose, you just didn't have a choice. And the second thing I think is that it gave a lot of people options. It showed a lot of people that they could be here and be working for somebody in the US, in the UK, earning pounds, earning USD, and that sort of just shifted a lot of people's mindsets, right? And if you notice, it was coming out of COVID, at least for Nigeria, that the Japa wave became so intensified.
Perfect.
So it's not like it was always there with Andrew, Ghana Must Go, back then it was always there, right? And the Yorubas would even make a joke, but then it used to be people would Japa, and eventually there was a Jakpada. So you go and you come back. Right now nobody's talking too much about Jakpada, even if some people are predicting that it will still happen, right?
They say it's after 5 years, after 10 years.
So let's wait and see. So coming out now, you have a lot of, and for example, we're in fintech, right? So we have a lot of software devs, designers, internet marketers, people that can work remote. It's more difficult if it's like manufacturing or something that requires your physical input, right? A lot of these things, these guys can sit here and work for anybody, anywhere. So that realization that a lot of people, that they have options, it sort of, I think, made a lot of people bolder.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it made a lot of people bolder. So people started asking for things, more. I think people started demanding for more generally. More and less, more of what they wanted, less of things they didn't want. Less things that would stress their mental health, quote and unquote. More work from home, more employee perks, more training, more understanding from the employer. I mentioned mental health now, you smiled. I said something. I was telling one of my bosses, he just became, my boss is from KPMG, just became a partner at Anderson. Anderson is the other, big firm. And I was just making a joke. This guy was training me. I was 21 when Suleiman started training, me in consulting then. And I just laughed. I said, I imagine when he told me to stay back one day and finish one work, and I had to stay till 10 p.m. And I told him mental health back in 2011. I'm like, I didn't even know. I didn't hear of mental health until maybe 2020. It was always something like, this one is going to Yaba left. That, when I think of mental health, I think of it to the extreme case, at least back then. Yeah. But all of a sudden, I just woke up one day, I'm mental health. I'm like, okay.
How are you coping with that feedback?
So that's what I'm saying. So initially, it was something I'm like, what are you talking? I beg, leave this mental health. But we started seeing that it was actually a real thing, right? People people didn't adjust seamlessly to coming back to the office as easily as we thought they would rather, because that staying at home alone, especially for single people, it actually messed with some people's minds. People were at home alone for 3-4 months. They didn't see maybe 1 or 2 people, right? So it really got to some people's heads, and you have a job to do as a business owner. You have stakeholders, you have customers, you have employees that are part of the stakeholders too. And if your people are not happy, they can't provide, or if maybe happy is not the word, but if they are not at their best, or you don't provide an environment that they can be their best, your business is going to suffer, and you are going to suffer for it, right? So definitely, I think one of the trends we're seeing, whether anybody or not likes to admit it, and at least I know my big 4 people, when I talk to them, they have admitted it too. You've had to be less high-handed with the current guys, right? You have to. It's not, because now you're competing not just with the guys in your industry. You're competing with Japa
global.
You're competing with people in the US willing to pay forex. So you have your naira having issues, being devalued by no fault of yours, deliberately, and then you have this guy. Let's assume you want to give him $250K a month. Assuming, and you have somebody offering him $2,000, right? And what are you going to tell this person? That means the conversation has to be more than money. So I think what the modern workplace demands are like founders, employers that can start to see people more than just units of labor, and start to think about all these things: work-life balance. You have to put in your plan, learning and development, mental health, every single thing. You have to be thinking about how you are going to support the person 360, because before it was just like, just do your work, I pay you, and you go home. That's not going to cut it. If you want to inspire the kind of loyalty to allow somebody not immediately go for a $2,000 job compared to the $250K that you're giving them, it's not that they won't go, but maybe they can even stay and finish the project they are working on, or they can even consider you and just, okay, you know what, these guys see me as an individual and they think about me as a person. So let me not just leave them high and dry, or let me even try, and giving you fair warning of the $2,000 job 2 months or a month before they go is actually being nice.
As in, someone said that's the best thing that can ever happen to you.
Yes, no. So the guy was telling, like I said, my ex-boss, who is now a partner, was telling me that, look, I'm not even saying you shouldn't go. Please just tell me. So that because the clients, the customers' work is there. If you just wake up and go, what will happen to that work? So you are going, no problem. I'll pray for you. I'll give you dollars to support you as you want to travel, anything, But I just want to know in advance. And if you don't treat people properly, those are the kind of things. Somebody will just wake up and go. And people are joking that that's what's happening with some banks. That when you're transferring money, is because the people that are supposed to supporting the app,
they've gone.
They've gone, right? I think it's more like thinking about people more 360. Even if we can joke about mental health, we have to consider it. Work-life balance, you have to consider it. I used to laugh at companies that will have PS5 and games. Come Sycamore now, there's games there, and I'm like, it's Tunde of like 8-10 years ago, So we have this thing in Sycamore called practice management. So we have groups that focus on like fitness. So you can join like a fitness club. You can join a counseling club. There's a CSR unit. And the idea is that people should have other departments that is not their core, about things they're passionate about. So you're passionate about fitness, passionate about CSR, there's social, there's sports. And that's all like, again, just to think about the individual more 360, because it can't, it's not scalable again for you to just say, you know what, I'm an employee, I'm your employer, work, come to work 8 p.m., close by 5 or close by 8 p.m., I'll give you a salary and go home. It's not going to fly in this 2022 and, post-COVID era, I think.